Hey there, internets. This is Kyle coming to you with another edition of the Journey from Zero to $1 Million on this My Business Launch Secrets YouTube channel. Here I'm in the early morning hours as opposed to late hours. I did not get to record one of these last night because ended up working late last night on some work. I'm replacing a water heater, and aside from that, like remodeling the closet area where the water heater goes. So that it's going to take quite a while. Worked much of the day yesterday on it, and still a lot of work to do, but I'm just going to try to get my water heater hooked back up today because kind of sucks not having hot water, So I took a cold shower last night afterwards, and it was pretty unpleasant. Even though I know certain people talk about the benefits of taking cold showers, raises your dopamine and makes you more alert, but at 1 o'clock in the morning I was not really interested in being very alert. So anyway, so I'll just make a quick comment here about something I heard Russell Brunson talk about yesterday on a podcast. As I was going back and forth to Lowe's 80 times, which, side note, if you've never done renovation projects, that's one of the great things you get to do is go to Lowe's, get supplies you need, come home, get started working. An hour later, realize you're missing one little dinky coupling or something, and you got to go back again and repeat that about 5 or 6 times a day before you actually have all the parts that you need. I've been doing remodeling projects for many years, and I've done all kinds of stuff, and it never ceases to fail that there's always more crap that I have to buy than I originally planned on buying. Such as even replacing a water heater. You just say, I just need a water heater, new water heater. I have some hoses and whatnot, but there's a bunch more crap than that. Anyway, I digress. So Russell Brunson on one of his podcasts was talking about that you should, when you're selling something, you should not impose your own purchasing beliefs, I guess, or whatever, on your target audience. Meaning, I do think a lot of people, including myself, get tripped up in thinking, I shouldn't charge so much money for my service or whatever program or course, because I wouldn't pay $1,000 for this thing that I'm making. And but we should not assume that everybody who we are advertising our content to has that same belief or view. And obviously, because people have been selling information products for since the beginning of the mail, I guess, clearly people will pay a lot of money for information products. And this is kind of the thing that's sort of blown my mind personally, that there is so much out there, and the reason there is because people make a lot of money doing it. If it wasn't a profitable business model, then obviously you wouldn't do it. And going back to days when you used to get a lot more junk mail, I'm sure you still get some like I do, but it seems to be less overall than what I remember growing up as a kid. But that's because we have now email marketing campaigns, and that's replaced direct mail marketing. The same type of thing, people advertising to teach you something. Of course, a lot of it is about building businesses, starting a business, starting a side hustle, which I think can be attractive for people that say are unhappy with their job or unhappy with their income level. They want to go try to get rich quick, sort of thing, and so they'll pay $1,000 to try to learn how to do something that somebody says is going to make them $1 million or whatever. Which, by the way, don't do that. That's not gonna. That's not the way you get rich. But anyway. But I was thinking, though, even like with the types of program that I want to build up, which is more like in the kind of career development type of space, helping people similar to myself who have PhDs and do engineering work, help them in their own careers and try to level up in terms of their income in their own jobs and help them navigate any challenges that they might be facing in their workplace. Even like that type of a product is not something I probably would buy, frankly. Or at least I wouldn't pay thousands of dollars for it. But I mean, that's just me. That's personally, I prefer to, I guess, I don't know, just figure things out on my own, maybe. I don't know. I mean, in the past year, I've certainly learned a lot about and appreciated a lot more the, benefits of either, reading from other experts, which I mean, have read books in the past, so you could say that's a form of a course. You're getting some perspective from an expert through the book that he wrote, and you obviously paid for that book. Of course, you only paid whatever, $20 or something for it. But nevertheless, if that person had an online course about a book that I was very interested in, I mean, I would conceivably be interested in purchasing such a thing. And if it happened to be about my career or something, then maybe I would purchase that. But just to say, it's not something I've ever purchased myself, and I don't know if I would pay for something like that. But Russell's point is that yeah, you probably wouldn't pay for your own course. You probably wouldn't pay $1,000 or whatever the thing is for your own course because you already have that knowledge. So obviously, to you, it doesn't seem very valuable because, I mean, like, it's your experiences, it's your the things that you've learned that you were putting into this course. So obviously, you wouldn't pay much of anything for that course because you already know everything because you're the one who made it, right? Duh. But you could even make the argument if somebody else had a very similar course to yours, it wasn't yours, but it was on a very similar topic, you probably wouldn't pay $1,000 for that either because, again, it's like the things that they're trying to teach me I already know anyway, so I want to do that, right? So he said you got to recognize, again, that the thing you're trying to sell to people that do not already know that material, have not already lived those experiences that you're trying to share with them. And therefore, to them, for them to get, a decade's worth of experience boiled down to whatever, some number of hours of viewable content, or if it were a book or whatever it would be, like that would be very valuable for them to get a lot of insight and a lot of perspective from somebody that's considerably further down the road in their career than where they're at. And I've thought about, one aspect of what I would like to teach is, kind of positioning yourself for, relatively large salary bumps. And, I could speak about my experience of more or less doubling my salary in about 2 to 3 years time frame through various things that I managed to accomplish, etc. But the point being that, so if I were teaching that, and again, not to say it's a guarantee that anybody else could have that same result, but even if some of the tactics that I were able to teach were able to get somebody an extra $5,000 in their annual salary, so that's an extra $5,000 a year that person will be making for the rest of their career. And I'm targeting people that are kind of early to mid-ish career, so people that probably still have another at least 15 or 20 years of their career left to work. So that extra $5,000, that if they could achieve that within a year or two, let's say, That's an extra $5,000 on top of anything else they make for the rest of their career. So 20 times 5, $100,000 that I've essentially helped them make. So therefore, it's not too unreasonable if I were to say, if they wanted my most expensive offer, which I don't even know what that'll be yet, but let's just say it was $5,000. If they'd paid me $5,000 to get like intensive coaching or something like that, and again, it resulted in them in then over the course of their career making $100,000 by just some minor tweaks, then I mean, obviously that's worth it. That's valuable. So I think it was just a good kind of lesson to think about, and it's something I guess I'm mostly already sort of had gotten over my fear of charging a lot of money for what I'm doing, mainly because other person I've been listening to primarily over the past 6 or 8 months is Alex Hormozi, and this is another point he likes to make, that which he gets this kind of from Dan Kennedy and some other marketers, but so there's no strategic advantage to being the second most expensive option in your market. There is huge strategic advantage in being the most expensive, and anytime you just try to compete on price, you just drive yourself to the bottom of the price war, and then you're just a commodity, and people don't really see the value in what you're offering, because you appear to be just like everybody else in terms of pricing and everything. So his point is you should always try to be the most expensive option in whatever the thing is that you're selling, because that alone can give you an advantage. And of course, you need to show that you're providing significant value for the people that would be looking at paying that price. But and again, I think that makes a lot of sense. People do attribute the value of something based on its price, regardless of them knowing anything about the details of the product itself. They just see a price, and they automatically assume that if this thing is more expensive than this thing, that this thing must be more valuable than this thing over here, without just any detailed knowledge about what the two things are. There's an experiment that's been run where people are given a kind of a blind taste test of a few bottles of wine. They don't know what the bottles of wine are. They just know that one of them is priced at, I don't know, just making numbers. They're shown prices for each of the bottles of wine, and they say one of them is $100, one of them is $50, and one of them is $15 or something. They're told to taste the three bottles of wine and tell which one they feel has a better taste and that they feel is a better bottle of wine. And what inevitably happens is, of course, they rank the most expensive bottle of wine as being the best tasting, the middle tier one as being the second, and then the 15 bottle of wine being the worst, right? But in fact, what the experimenters did was they gave the exact same bottle of wine. All three were the same. But it's just the psychological sort of trick of your brain associating a higher price with something being more valuable, that sort of, even though they were tasting the exact same thing, it's just psychologically their brain was saying, no, this one is better than that one. Again, just purely based on the price. And I think that's a great example of how we, in a lot of ways, associate what the value of something is to the price. So getting back to the point of, whatever you're selling in your own business, if you have something that's like very expensive, like $5,000, $10,000, Russell Brunson sells his like top level coaching is $250,000 a year or something. It's like crazy. But obviously he's targeting people that are making tens of millions of dollars a year in their business. So $250,000 to them, I mean, that's like the relative cost to guys making that much money, of course, is not significant. Yeah, so I guess you kind of just have to think about whatever you're selling, whoever your target audience is, have some understanding of how much money they have, and I think kind of pricing yourself so that it's when you show them or tell them the price, they would go like, oh yeah, that is a lot of money. Not like it's an insurmountable amount of money. Like me, obviously offering something that's $100,000 to just people that want like career coaching or something, that's probably doesn't really make sense. I don't think anybody would do that unless they're like top level executives. But again, why would a top level executive hire me anyway? But again, I don't think something like $5,000 to $10,000 is too out of the realm of possibility for somebody that's really focused on wanting to advance in their career. And again, I could illustrate that through minor steps in their income that could result in massive returns over the long haul of their career. So anyway, I just thought it was a good thing to ponder on yesterday and continue to give me confidence in pricing things on the higher end of the spectrum. Because again, the other benefit of like pricing things higher, just from a business standpoint, is you need less customers to make the same amount of money. Like, shocker, right? I mean, if you're selling a $100 item, you need way more people to buy that to get to $1 million than if you have $1,000 or $5,000 item, right? So anyway, I just thought I'd share that tidbit here this morning. Got to get back to work now. Hope you're all doing well. Kicking ass, taking names. I'll see you next time. Peace.